Alright, Robert. Well, hopefully it's going to be a better weekend for us this weekend. Yeah. I mean, there's no upgrades for the car or anything. That's coming for the next one. But, well, if you could not drive in the back of me, that'd be nice. Mate, you drove into the back of me. Make all the excuses you want, mate. Me hit you. Maybe when I'm coming past lapping you, mate. Hi guys, I'm Aussie Villain and welcome back to Aussie Villain Racing for the Japanese Grand Prix. And after last episode where we had a slightly disappointing Singapore Grand Prix, hopefully we're going to bounce back stronger than ever for today's race. Now let's have a quick look. You can see it's a very quick turnaround between the two races, only the 2 days off. So let's have a look at what we can do with those 2 days. We can invest some more into Markelov. I'll get there eventually, into Schwartzman. Promotion, filming, that gives me some acclaim, it looks like. Aero, team building, the morale of the teams isn't fine. Sponsorship event, I think we go and invest some more time in Schwartzman, don't we? Yeah, let me know what you guys think, if it is the right thing to do to sort of look to make him a long-term teammate of ours, but I think that's possibly what we do need to look to do here. Now, we have 2.18 million in the bank. Powertrain upgrade, can we get this done? We can. So that would mean that the powertrain is fully upgraded. Give us extra resource points. You can see there 75 it'll generate, I'm assuming, per week, as opposed to the 25 we currently do. So that leaves us just over $500,000, which is fine. Oh, we got some internal rain there, it looks like, over, no, it's behind the thing there. It's difficult to see, but that looks like it might be an issue. Somebody get a mop, please. Now, in terms of upgrades, we don't have anything on the car for this race. And we only have 820 points to play with anyway, resource points to get upgrades. We could look to do barge boards. The reason that's so few is because I really struggled at Singapore to get any sort of in free practice. If you don't know, you have sort of little test sessions you're trying to do, and if you complete them successfully, then that's how you can up the resource points that you get there. And I was struggling in Singapore so badly, I don't know if I got anything done, to be honest. So one thing we could look to do here perhaps is we could maybe get cable assembly and barge boards done together. Let's have a look what else we could do here on the powertrain side of things. We have this, which is a very, very minor upgrade. The other thing we could maybe look to do, given that we did have an issue with the ICE, no, we've already done that. So what's the next thing we have here? MG UK improved materials. Or we could do turbo as well. I mean, the turbo essentially costs us nothing with the discount things that we have. I think what we might look to do here is we might look to do the barge boards, because that could unlock things further down the line. So that'll be here again for the American Grand Prix. We have, you can see there's a little bit of a gap between the two, and we have a number of upgrades. If everything goes through, it's almost going to be a brand new car for that race. And then if we go and if we can get the cable assembly, no, we can't. So in that case, I wonder if we do, because it is so cheap. If we do just get this turbo thing done, 40% chance of failure, but let's just go with it and see what happens on that one. And that is pretty much all she wrote, isn't it, in terms of upgrades? In terms of what's coming onto the cars, I said there is nothing for this race, but for the American Grand Prix next episode, we essentially have a new car coming in. And look at the progress history. And look, we are closing the gap, aren't we, to the very top. And again, it's almost neck and neck between Alpine, ourselves, Alfa Romeo, and AlphaTauri. There's nothing between us. So that is a very, very tense midfield battle that we're involved in there. Now, in terms of the power unit, we did have that issue. I think it was with the internal ICE, wasn't it, last episode? The third, and in this case, the second of all our components, essentially we haven't used yet. Because we took penalties early on to get fourth and fifth components. So what we're going to do is we're going to put on basically everything that we haven't used yet for this one. We'll see how far these parts can go, and then towards the end of the season we might need to start mix and match a little bit, but essentially, hopefully anyway, this will get us through to the end of the season now with nice fresh parts. The sponsorship, the corporate side of things, nothing has changed. We've still got our rivalry against Ocon. This will most likely, but it almost certainly will be the last race with him as our rival, and we'll check in on that in just a second. But everything else on the sponsorship side of things is the same. Markelov, still the teammate, and if we look at the driver market. We'll come to that further on. It's a little bit close to the end of the season. It comes back to what I said earlier. Do we invest, just go big on Schwartzman, look to keep him as our teammate for at least next season, or do we look to jump ship and maybe get somebody else in? We've already seen Schwartzman go from rating of 70 to 71 in the space of, what, 2 or 3 races. So I do wonder if it is worth maybe just sticking with him. Finances, you can see where we spent a little bit on upgrades and department events, but otherwise everything is fine. We made a little bit of a loss, but that's because we spent money, and there's our financial history. And if we have a look at the standings, as a refresher, Hamilton leads the championship from Bottas. We're down there in 11th. We're not going to catch Stroll. We're trying to fend off Gasly and Alonso at this point, I would think. We can see the Constructors' Championship there. We are 3 points ahead of AlphaTauri, and Tauri, I think it is actually, and we are 7 points ahead of Alpine. That is our battle. Can we get 6th? Hopefully, we'll get a little bit of help from Schwartzman, but it's unlikely, isn't it? It will probably come down to us. There's all our season so far, and the rivalry it will end this episode. This will be the last race with the rivalry of Ocon. It's who can get to 31st, and we've got a 2-point advantage over him. If I can qualify well, we should win this rivalry, and that'll be a nice little boast to our claim. And all my driver details there, we can see it's basically average finish, average start of 15th. So I always say I'm a better qualifier than racer. The stats don't back that up, do they? I just am making excuses basically for my racing. And anyway, let's go and advance ahead to no, I want to go this one and advance ahead to the Japanese Grand Prix. Is there going to be anything else that springs up between now and then? Doesn't look like there is. So let's head off to Suzuka. So here are the messages ahead of the race. No new parts on the car, and the weather forecast, dry and dry. So overcast and dry, it looks like. You can see a map of the track there, Suzuka. It's a good track, isn't it, Suzuka? Hopefully, I'll be just as good as it is. I'll do it justice, let's say. But I'm going to do some free practice, guys, and I'll see you in a moment for qualifying 1. Alright, so free practice is done. We're obviously more competitive. We can't be less competitive than we were at Singapore. We're more competitive. We've sort of been around about the same times as Schwartzman, to be honest, but I've been playing around with the setup. I'm not completely convinced we've nailed it yet. We're a little bit slow in the first sector, but the rest of the lap we seem to be very competitive, sort of even compared to sort of like the Red Bulls and that sort of some of the teams that are further up midfield. So I suspect I maybe haven't got either the suspension settings right, the wings right, or something along those lines, because, as I say, it's first sector, which is twisty, is where we're dropping time. But let's get the Q1 and let's see what we can do. Well, this is a good start. Brake system fault. I'll be with you in a minute and 14 seconds. Alright, brakes are fixed, and here we go. It's a really tricky corner there to get coming under the straight, to get the gas down, and the car wants to slide out a little bit. Now we've got someone coming out of the pit, which is not ideal. Stroll. It's kind of thrown me off a little bit, but that's going to be my excuse anyway, but we'll keep with it, see how we can go here. Now this is the part of the track, and I haven't got off to a great start here, where we have been losing time compared to everybody else. But so far, I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't the worst I've ever done, which probably says more about me than anything. Now the Dagners, these corners are crazy. I feel like you're trying to commit suicide going into them, but we just about get through there. Now this is the tricky hairpin. Trick, of course, we've gone through there a little bit too much speed, and it's drifted us wide. So this lap, just generally speaking, has been a little bit scruffy. Just based off of free practice, I wouldn't expect us to get out of Q1, but you never know. We'll obviously give it our best crack. But we're going to need to do a better lap than this to accomplish that. So now we've got a long time to think about the final chicane, basically. We've just got to make sure we pick a turning point for 180. Is it 180R, isn't it? 180R, I think that's what it's called. Done that okay. And now for the chicane, just before that board there, turn in for the... Oh, I've missed my turn in there. And we come around, and let's see what we've done. 8. Well, I'll take that. Alright, fresh set of tyres, here we go for a second attempt. Now that brake thing at the start has just put us in an awkward spot here where I don't think we're going to get a third attempt. We don't have Stroll into turn 1, which helps. Try and maybe be a little bit not sort of slower to be faster, if that makes sense. Not quite attack. quite as much and see if it just makes us a little bit smoother and actually quicker overall. We are up quite a bit of time on our first attempt, but we were kind of scruffy that first attempt as well. 3/4 tenths.
Laps of fuel remaining.
Here we go, Dagners. Not the best. Yeah, we've lost time actually through there this time around. Oh, but look at the time we made through the hairpin, almost a second. That is crazy. Slow corners, man. You can make up so much time in them. Alright, the spoon. I think it's just called spoon, isn't it? Not the spoon, but anyway. Still 7/10 up. Now, we didn't quite get the final chicane either, did we, last time? So we might, with a good chicane here, actually be in contention for Q2.
3 minutes to go.
Hit it better that time. Get it back across on the gas. We've made up a little bit more time. Get on the DRS and P15. Is that going to be enough? So we have got out of Q1. Only just. Look at that. Giovinazzi. What did he do? We did a 30.442. He did a 30.505. So we have just squeezed through. Of course, we've got Ocon as our rival, who is 7/10 ahead of us. But let's get into Q2. See if we've got nothing to lose here, do we? 17th is where we would have started anyway. Can we maybe pip maybe Ralf Schumacher, Kimi Räikkönen? Let's go find out. Apparently P17 gets eliminated, so never mind. That's where we're starting. We're out at Q1, and I don't know what I'm talking about. But we already knew that, didn't we? So, it's race time then. P17 will start.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Norris, Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel and Leclerc, Stroll, Ricciardo, Sainz and Fernando Alonso, Perez, Ocon, Yuki Tsunoda and Raikkonen, Oldtimer, Giovinazzi, Nikita Mazepin and Pierre Gasly, Russell, Latifi, Mick Schumacher, they've taken a grid penalty, and Robert Schwartzman. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
So we gain a couple of places there with grid penalties. It looks like Schwartzman unfortunately had to take one as well. Now what do we do in terms of a strategy? I'm wondering, given that... see, the thing is, if we invert it, is that what everybody's going to do? To be honest, inverting it worked for us in Singapore, didn't it? Because we had no business finishing where we did, essentially. So let's do that. Let's see how long can these soft tyres go. That might be pushing the friendship, but let's go lap 7. Yeah, all right, let's go for lap 7. That looks all good to me. And let's take a little bit of petrol out because it's only a 13-lap race. And let's get to it. So here we go, Japanese Grand Prix. Mercedes on the front row. And let's see what we can do on these medium tyres. We've got a little bit of wheel spin. Not a great start compared to those around us as everybody drives off. And now it's a little bit of a case. Can we maybe do a sneaky one? No, and we're too far on the inside trying to defend our line. So we'll just kind of fall back into line here. And now this is the part of the track that I struggle at. And on the medium rather than the soft tyres, you can see that the train is going away from us a little bit. And it's Giovinazzi is behind us trying to get past, but we've got the inside line away a little bit. We are quick enough to just about keep him behind us. And I do stress just about. He's still trying to have a little sneaky go up the inside there. That's ambitious. And it ends up costing him time as we come up towards the hairpin for the first time. Now, you guys know how I love a dive bomb. Is there going to be an opportunity? Yes, there is. We've got 1, 2, stop before we run up the back of Ocon. And, oh well, the old power down problem. Tsunoda that gets back past us. But we have made the overtake. We can see here just about avoid hitting the back of Alonso, I should say. Too much lock on the steering wheel. Like, whoa, I tell you what, that was close. Cutting back across in front of Kimi. Schwartzman having flashbacks to Singapore there, no doubt. But we have just about managed to stay in front of the Alfa Romeo, and that's us up into 14th, which isn't too bad. for a first lap on the medium tyres. Now let's see, do we have the pace to go with those in front of us? That is the big question. And if we do have the pace to go with them while we're on a step harder of the compounded tyre, then there might be points in this for us yet. Only 4 places outside the point. It's Sergio Perez sitting in 10th right now. And of course the other thing we're going to look at is Esteban Ocon, with this being the deciding round. Oh, and we've got a bad exit from the chicane, and it's given Raikkonen a little bit of motivation. You can see we're on the overtake button, and we look like we have just enough. No DRS, of course, this lap. And that has just about, I'd say, been our saving grace there. With DRS, I think Raikkonen would have cruised straight back past us. But let's see, Tsunoda pulling away from us a little bit as we go through the S's here. And you can see Tsunoda pulling away. Raikkonen is all over the back of me. And yeah, as I say, it's just a case of just trying to stay as close as we can to Tsunoda and wait for the tyres to sort of switch around. Green first sector there we set. The biggest problem I always have in races, particularly at the start, is just trying to focus on just going as fast as I can and not overdriving, trying to keep someone behind and or catch the car in front. And again, not a great exit from that hairpin. And again, Raikkonen having a look up the inside. We give him a little bit of room, but we've got the inside line for the next corner. Kimi backs out of it, and that should be that as we go through Spoon and down the back straight. What's the gap to Tsunoda? Just over a second, coming into just under a second now. Of course, DRS is activated at the end of this lap. So if we can stay within that second, and there's quite the train in front of us there as well. What's going on there? That seems to have developed very quickly, didn't it? Anyway, if they're going to battle, that can only help us. And there's a caution out in front of us, is it? Or behind us? Where's this caution? Resume racing, so we've passed it, have we? No, there's a car up the front here. It's braking. It's at Ricardo. Then, oh, and it's gone pop. The engine's gone pop, and we go past. We are now the leading Australian, but more importantly, I suppose, than that, is that we can see the points. We're up into 13th place. We've got Tsunoda, Ocon, and then Alonso in front of him. The front car of this train is 10th place and a potential championship point. And the one thing that Danny Rick has done there, which has helped us, is slowing everybody up. I'm assuming down the straight into turn 1, and we've got Raikkonen up our backsides again. Is that it's pulled that gap right back in, hasn't it? Now, essentially that means that the soft runners have lost 2 laps, or the ones that are in front of us there, 2 laps of time where they potentially should have been pulling out a gap. So this could help us massively in an unlikely, I've got to say, quest for maybe a sneaky 10th here. But again, we've got to stay within that second. The gap right now is, was it 9-8 tenths? Are we on the overtake button? Overtake button, Aussie Villain. There we go. We've got to try and stay within that second, get the DRS down the front straight, and just cling on as long as we can. Are we within that second? I'm not sure where the DRS point is. Is it that line that we just crossed there, perhaps? Or is it on the exit? I think it's the one coming into that chicane, and it looks as though we are within a second. We've got DRS, do we, I think?
3/10 a lap.
And we were 3/10 faster than Raikkonen on that last lap, which is what Jeff was saying there. So this is it. This is the crucial part of the lap for us. If we can stay close, and we've got a little bit already, you can see just a little bit too quick. And once you get thrown off line into one of these, they just kind of feed one into the other, and it does kind of throw you off this whole complex. You're losing time then. And you can see that, well, Raikkonen has closed up on us again, which means we've most likely lost a little bit wide there at a Dagna 1. We've most likely lost a little bit of time to Tsunoda as well, and it is just over a second now, the gap. And the hairpin as well here. We saw in qualifying how much time you can find, and that's not a good taking of the hairpin. We've got Raikkonen on the outside of us this time. Now, of course, the problem is that this is going to be the inside to Spoon, but we've done enough. Again on the overtake button to just make sure he backs out of it and stays behind us. You get the feeling that well, Raikkonen and most likely Giovinazzi, who's hanging on to him, they're both quicker than us. But as long as we can keep them behind us, we've got a speed advantage down the straight, and it's going to be difficult for them to overtake if they can't, if they don't have that overlap on the speed. We're coming up now, end of lap 4. And we are still in the ballpark with Tsunoda. Now, the gap is 1.7, so we have dropped out of DRS zone. Or DRS range, I should say. So that's a bit of a blow. And, of course, we're coming into pit in lap 7. So we've got, what, lap 5 laps, 3 laps to the pits. And then we'll get on those soft tyres, and then we can see what we can do. Not the best exit from there. A little bit greedy on the gas pedal, it looks like. And we've got Raikkonen challenging us again. And you can see that gap just going, oh, not sure what Kimi did there. Looked like he got a bit of a wriggle on. Not sure if he caught some of our dirty air, perhaps, as we're on very different lines. But again, you can see he's got a run on us. And this is the part...
The gap to the car ahead is 2.8 seconds.
Yeah, 2.8 seconds to Tsunoda now. It's that first sector, it's not been good for me. Free practice qualifying, and it looks like now the race is, again, I go a little bit deep into the hairpin, but I can use that to get a straighter exit, and you can see we put a little bit of time between ourselves and Kimi there as well. And of course, if we can break the DRS zone to the Alfa Romeos, then that'll help us as well. They won't get that little pace advantage down the straight, which is just probably, I would imagine, helping keep them in touch with us right now. Again, not a good exit. Just a little. Usually what it is I'm just a little bit too greedy accelerating, and it just gets a little bit of wheel spin, which snaps the car like that. But yeah, it's looking a little bit as though Tsunoda is gone, isn't it? What's the gap now? 2.1, does that say? I need to put my glasses on for this. So yeah, you can see it was 2.8 at the start of the lap. We can bring it back, but ultimately he is pulling away from us a little bit each lap. As we skip ahead now to lap 6, and you can see Kimi and Giovinazzi still behind us, but they have caught us back up. And this is now 1 lap before as we cross to start lap 7. This is the lap we're coming into the pits. You can see we've got a poor exit. Raikkonen is behind us. Unfortunately, I've left a little bit too much room. I've overestimated how much front lane speed we had. Well, he's got the DRS, of course, now as well. He's up the inside. We just have to give that one up. Otherwise, we're going to get squeezed off. And that is Kimi gone. And you can see Giovinazzi having a little lunge behind us. That's opened the door for Gasly. And you can see Tsunoda 4.8 seconds ahead of Raikkonen. He has taken off since we skipped ahead here, which is a little bit of a bummer because it makes points that much more difficult now as well, unless the other McLaren wants to go pop and hold everybody up for us, of course. But suddenly, as we're desperate for these soft tyres, we're sort of hanging on, looking back more than we're looking forward. And I mean, even in just this, half a lap, not even, you can see Raikkonen has pulled out. Well, he'd almost be out of DRS zone. He's out of DRS zone if we were to be continuing on for another lap. So trying to keep Gasly behind us. He has a little look, but you can't really overtake there, can you? We'd have to really be doing something wrong. We come onto the back straight. A decent enough exit to make sure he's not going to get a big run on us. Obviously, though, he is in the tow. And if he has any battery power, he would probably be using it. Of course, the fact that we're coming into the pits this lap, I'm not that fast at this point. If he wants to have a lunge, we'll let him go, but he stops, doesn't quite hit the back of us. Just want to make sure that we're going to have first right of way into the pit lane, and Gasly actually comes in behind us, and it looks like Kimi, yeah, he's coming in front of us. So, race in the pits now. Decent enough first stint there. Hopefully we'll be a little bit quicker on the softs than we were on the mediums, because we were kind of dropping back at a rate of knots and holding up the queue there, I think. But yeah, let's see how we do here.
Exit now. We're racing on the exit. Go now.
So we look to be a lot closer to Raikkonen on the way out than we were on the way in. So good job there by the Aussie Villain boys.
No more scheduled pit stops.
No more scheduled pit stops, says Jeff. And Raikkonen very, very slow. And what is he got a problem? We go round the outside. It's going to give us the inside for the next corner. Let's try to squeeze him a little bit. And round the outside again. And we have done it. Let's have another look. We've caught him napping. It's like Leclerc in Russia all over again. Napping coming out of the pits. I don't know if it's a little bit of maybe the medium tyres not having the grip that our softs have. But we've gone straight round the outside of Kimi. And we're back where we started. Well, not quite. We're in 17th. Alonso's ahead of us. He must have stopped. Ocon looks... Where's Ocon? Ocon's second, so he hasn't stopped as of yet. And this is the sort of lap now where we just want to go like buggery and see if we could get an undercut on someone like Tsunoda. But
there's been an incident on track, but officials aren't looking to push for a safety car right now. Just be careful.
A safety car, if everyone was on the mediums, it looks like Gasly's on a hard and we were on the softs, would be amazing, wouldn't it? It would really give us a nice advantage. but if they're not going to push for one, then that's not much we can do about it. But yeah, this is a push lap for us, very, very definitely. And see what we can do, maybe pushing a little bit too hard there. I would be very surprised if we could make up the 4 or 5 seconds that we lost to Tsunoda. But the closer we can get, even if it just means, you know, we're in DRS zone of him again, or DRS range, I should say, then that would help. You can see that we've pulled out a nice little gap on Raikkonen in this first lap as the tyre advantage swings back our way. Now let's see, as we come past the pits, are we going to see anybody on the exit? There's a car coming out there. That looks like, was that Ralf Schumacher or was it Giovinazzi perhaps? As we come back on board, and unfortunately we can't see anybody in front of us, can we? So looks like we've dropped ourselves into no man's land. Tsunoda, what's that say, 6.5 seconds in front. Raikkonen behind on the harder compounded tyre. It's looking as though, yeah. And we skip ahead now to the final lap. It was a little bit like I suspected, a bit of a lonely second stint. You can see we've cut the gap. We've taken a couple of seconds out of Tsunoda. It's gone from 6.5 down to 4.5. We've pulled out a gap on Kimi of, what's that, about 4 or 5 seconds, as well as, let's say, 3. I can't read. Yeah, so it's just been a bit of a lonely second stint, unfortunately. But 13th, you know what? That's not terrible. I've definitely got better at the track the longer we've gone. I'm fairly happy with the second stint as well on the soft tyres. So there we go. A bit of a lonely race, that one, but we'll take it. Moved forward, that's the main thing. Oh, go on, Robert. Well done, son.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Was there anybody else on the track today? I mean, I saw Kimi. I had a good race with Kimi, and I saw Tsunoda for a little bit, but I'm not convinced there was anybody else out there, to be honest. I think we might have won. We beat Kimi, so we must have won. So there we go. It was a lonely race, wasn't it? Like I kind of said at the end there. A good overtake. I love the overtake on Kimi Raikkonen. That'll have to be up there at the end of season highlights, won't it? I'm not doing those, but you know what I mean. I was really, really happy with that overtake. And then we were just a little bit too slow on the mediums, really, weren't we? And Tsunoda got a little bit too far away from us. We didn't really close the gap back in a little bit. I think we maybe even halved it in the second stint, but he was long gone. If you look at our best time, though, you know, we were competitive, very, very close. I mean, there's nothing between sort of the entire midfield. But, you know, point scorers did essentially the same fastest lap that we did. It's a shame that Ocon has beaten us. That might hurt, though we did get a faster lap than him. So that, we'll have to check the rivalry in a second. And good on also Robert Schwartzman, driver of the day. Not quite sure about that, moving up 4 places, one of which was old Denny Rick going out. I was the top Australian today, by the way, everybody. Acknowledge that, please. And if we go and have a look at the championship standings, it is, well, it's Hamilton and Bottas. Now, I'm not sure if either Hamilton or Bottas have clinched the championship. Hamilton or Mercedes, I should say. It looks like Mercedes may have. But we are still there in 6th. Alpine have got a point. AlphaTauri and... well, they didn't, obviously we didn't either. So that is, it's very, very tense going into these final few rounds, isn't it? But Ocon picked up a point for Alpine, as we can see there. But let's have a look and see what happened with this rivalry. So we'll wait and see. I do, but the rivalry is finished. We have a new rival now, which is Lance Stroll. So we'll see him in the US. And we'll see our team acclaim has gone up. I think we have to get to 15 in order to get the next... yeah, the next sponsorship. So we didn't get any extra money there, which is a shame. But we'll see if we won the rivalry here in a second. And Schwartzman costing money, more damage than I did that race, which is unlike me, isn't it? But guys, that is it for today. If you have enjoyed that, do make sure you hit thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Hopefully we're going to see this rivalry thing. Next race, of course, is in Austin for the American Grand Prix. That'll be interesting to see how we get on. And it doesn't look like it is going to show us. So we'll click in. So before we were able to do that, we do have a sponsorship renewal now, and Aston Martin I don't think is going to be very realistic for us to out-qualify, if I'm honest, so we might have another look here. All right, and I think what we're going to have to do is go for the new sponsor here, PSD, answer 4 interview questions on a race weekend. You always get asked questions after sessions, and that's going to be the best money for us, I think. So we might just need to do that, which is a bit of a not a great goal, is it really? But we'll have to kind of go with that. Now, if we go and have a look at the rivalry, is it going to tell us, or it's just going to say no? We did win it. There we go. So we've won 2 of 2. So we were able to beat Ocon. So that's good. Lance Stroll is going to be a whole nother test. But anyway, that's a test for next time, guys. Until then, I've been Aussie Villain. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in Austin. Take care.